With an update on CM Punk's contract status with AEW and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Speaking to Sportskeeda about one final match, WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle noted that, "I don't think so. I had a knee replacement 5 months ago. I'm good. I think I've had a good enough career that I'm proud of. If it does come to be, then it will probably be a tag match like Ric Flair did so that I don't get exposed. I hate to say it, but I don't think I'm the same wrestler I used to be. But if I did decide to have a wrestling match, it would be against younger guys that could carry me, and I'd make sure that it was a tag match so I was not exposed." During the Q3 earnings call for WWE, co-CEO and chairwoman Stephanie McMahon touched on mergers for the company, saying, "Just to give some examples of what I meant by that, an acquisition has to align with our capabilities, whether that's smaller wrestling promotions, say internationally." Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics believes WWE is interested in companies in Japan as well as Mexico. For a quick survey of Japan, Bushiroad owns New Japan Pro Wrestling, the leader there, as well as Stardom, the women's wrestling promotion, which is probably the fastest growing company in the region. Additionally, Cyber Agent owns Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT Pro Wrestling, and Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Noah would be among the biggest companies in Japan after New Japan's wide lead. Dragon Gate and All Japan Pro Wrestling, I believe, are more independently owned. The Japanese companies owned by large parents like Bushiroad and Cyber Agent seem to me less likely to be acquired. But then again, if one of those conglomerates ends up in cost-cutting mode in a major economic recession, it's conceivable they, like Sinclair Broadcasting did earlier this year with Ring of Honor, might look to sell their wrestling assets. In Mexico, the major two companies have long been AAA Lucha Libre Worldwide and CMLL. Both have been family-owned for decades. When interviewing Kevin Owens on After the Bell, Corey Graves noted how WWE is looking to make improvements to future WarGames matches. "You've competed inside WarGames twice. It was my first time getting to call WarGames. Obviously, the first time it happened on the main roster, Monday morning. Full disclosure to everybody, Kevin Patrick was there. We had a meeting as we do before Monday Night Raw each and every week, and there were questions asked as to how do we improve WarGames? How do we tweak WarGames? Because this was the first rollout. We got the men's and the women's all in the same night. There was a lot happening. It's very difficult to differentiate two of the same style matches within the same card. Kudos to all 20 people involved, because that's exactly what happened successfully. It was a very exciting conversation to be a part of, because everybody across the board went cool. Saturday night was a success. How do we make it better?" Touching on his feud against Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens would note how he wants a match against him in front of fans, telling After the Bell, "I don't think much has changed, honestly, since their last match. I think I was pretty well equipped back then too, and it just didn't work out that way for, a multitude of reasons. I just think there's unfinished business. I think the story is just not done. I think a lot of people watching would agree. It's been 2 years since all of that stuff happened. Everything Roman and I put each other through happened in front of empty arenas, during the pandemic. I would love to be able to get that, recapture that, and see what happens when it's in front of a sold-out arena or sold-out stadium, whatever it may be, and feel the energy of a crowd watching what's unfolding in front of them. I'd love to get to do that one more time for my own benefit, just to be able to hear what we can do with the fans in the stands." During that same interview, Kevin Owens would mention how he was suffering through back issues ahead of Raw this week. "I guess I'm fine, I think. It really changes by the day. You could ask me that question tomorrow and I'm feeling awful, but today I'm okay. I'll get out of my car and my back could be shot and I'm not aware until I start walking. The last few months have been interesting in that aspect. I'll wake up fine and by 2 o'clock my knees don't work. It really hasn't started hitting me until recently, honestly. These weird aches and pains will come and go. In this moment, I'm sitting in my truck, I feel great. My back was really bothering me going into Raw already, and I've had knee issues the last few weeks. I went in feeling pretty beat up, but it worked out really good, and I think everyone enjoyed the match, and so did I. It's nice to walk away from it all with people enjoying what you do. Owens would also talk about Shinsuke Nakamura facing the Great Muta for Pro Wrestling Noah. As he said, when I saw the announcement for the match, they had it when Shinsuke's music hit in the video, it gave me absolute goosebumps. Knowing how incredible that is for the fans, it's such a treat, it's such a surprise. You never would have thought that it was something that could happen. Not only is it happening, but it's something I'm sure means a lot for Shinsuke. Yeah, for sure, I'd like to have matches on the indies. I'm very deeply rooted in the independent scene. That's where I came up. I still have so many friends there. There are a few wrestling companies, independent companies, that I still hold very near and dear to my heart that I love to maybe one day show back up on just for fun, whether it's a promo or maybe it's a match. Now it feels like more of a possibility than ever. That's stuff that over the years I've always thought, hey man, it'd be really cool if I could get to do that one day. Now it feels like more of a possibility than ever. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it feels that it could now. And that's very exciting. The fans and the wrestlers. If you get someone from the independent scene, most of the time you'll get someone who is very passionate. Touching on details behind Roman Reigns being upset following Survivor Series, the Wrestling Observer said that there was a backstage controversy after the show. During the men's WarGames match, Owens slapped Reigns, and the shot landed hard. Reigns had a big bruise visible from it under the left eye, and there were unconfirmed reports that his left eardrum was ruptured. There was definitely a left eardrum injury. Reigns was furious and backstage after went off on Owens, with swearing and such. According to numerous sources, Reigns was mad both because of the injury, but also because it wasn't a spot he had known about, and felt it didn't make sense to do it in the match. Some said it happened. Reigns was obviously furious, but it largely blew over by 20 minutes later. Following surgery on his torn pec and months of rehab, an update on Cody Rhodes was given as the Wrestling Observer wrote that Cody Rhodes' recovery is going well. He's been working heavily with top-level trainers to put on size and strength and hit 240 pounds legit, which may be the thickest he's been in his life. He's back to normal when it comes to his ability to train and lift. No word when he'll return, given it makes sense for it to be a surprise. With recently getting her wisdom teeth removed, Saraya took to social media to post this video.
I don't know, it hasn't. It all happened so quickly. It's so cold. Okay, bye.
Talking about Baron Corbin on his podcast, former WWE writer Vince Russo gave a suggestion to the company saying, "Here's what I genuinely just do not understand. Think really about this. You have a 3-hour show and you've got a 2-hour show on Friday. You got God knows how many wrestlers on the roster. Can I ask you one simple question? How is there not one sexy, attractive woman on the show who's a non-wrestler? Bro, there's not one. Why couldn't that type of person be with Baron Corbin? And maybe she's a gold digger because, you know, tie anyone all that money. How could there not be one sexy, attractive female in 3 hours that is not a wrestler? How is that possible?" With a New Japan star possibly set to join AEW, Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Kota Ibushi has been in light training in the ring of late, and thus far the shoulder is held up well, so that's a good sign. His New Japan contract expires at the end of January, and he made a tweet hinting at that. There was a lot of bad feelings over the past year, but nothing is definite regarding staying or leaving at that point past. He brought it up in a cryptic way about being a free agent in 2 months. When it comes to the recent booking of William Regal in AEW, it seems many are questioning the president of the company, Tony Khan, as Dave Meltzer reported that. But all that is fine, but I can't understand putting so much heel steam to the point of being the point man and stealing the title on Regal. When it was known by the key people by this point, he was gone in a few weeks. I mean, story or not, the guy was leaving. A lot of talent has questioned that in the same way now that everyone knows he's leaving. It seems that William Regal is heading back to WWE, and giving more details on that was Dave Meltzer, pointing out in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that multiple WWE sources said Regal had an out clause in his contract. Actually, the returning to WWE is basically a given at this point. Whether it was a short-term deal or Tony Khan let him out of his deal out of respect for him. There are many other versions going around wrestling as to what happened, but the short-term deal is the primary source story. It was also added that AEW debated on how to write Regal off TV. There were different ideas debated, including one favored by a number of key people, although all ideas were that MJF would end up as champion. Others were also for Regal to turn with him on Moxley and then be turned back to set up MJF versus Danielson to set up his leaving. Others were not so heavily involving Regal, although they still felt they needed to write him out. There were just different explanations of how to end up in basically the same direction, with MJF as champion, Danielson as the next major contender, and Regal out of the picture. In an update on CM Punk, it appears he is being paid the money in his contract, as the Wrestling Observer reported that Punk, as of the weekend, was still under contract to AEW and being paid, and those close to him say the holdup on his being released is all on the AEW side, as he's ready and willing to move on to his next project. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.